As recently as 2022, there was a quintet of US military aircraft that was still doggedly soldiering on after more than 50 years of faithful service to the US Air Force and/or Navy. This high-flying pack consisted of the B-52 Stratofortress, the C-130 Hercules, the U-2 spy plane, the P-3 Orion, and last but not least, the Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker. Fast forward to mid-2024 and that quintet is on the verge of being whittled down to a trio. The P-3 Orion is in the process of being replaced by the P-8 Poseidon, whilst the KC-135, though not completely put out to pasture just yet, is in the process of being retired. We take a deep dive into this four-engined Boeing 707-like aircraft for today's video. When it comes to the history of the Boeing KC-135 Stratotanker, its operational journey began in August 1956 when she made her maiden flight. This was followed by an official introduction into operational US Air Force service in June 1957. This aircraft became the US Air Force's first jet-powered refueling tanker, replacing the KC-97 Stratofreighter. Some might say that the Stratotanker is based on the Boeing 707, but they would be wrong. In fact, the Stratotanker predates the Boeing 707 by a full year. Yes, they look superficially similar and indeed share common roots in the Boeing 367-80 prototype. However, the KC-135 has a narrower and shorter fuselage than the 707, 136 feet 3 inches versus 152 feet 11 inches respectively. The KC-135 features 4 turbofans mounted under 35-degree swept wings. These power takeoffs at gross weights of up to 322,500 pounds. As noted by the Air Force, a cargo deck above the refueling system can hold a mixed load of passengers and cargo. Depending on fuel storage configuration, the KC-135 can carry up to 83,000 pounds of cargo. Its passenger capacity is said to be 37. The jet has a range of 1,500 miles or 2,419 kilometers with 150,000 pounds or 68,039 kilograms of transfer fuel. A ferry mission, which sees the aircraft consuming all of its stored fuel, will allow it to fly as far as 11,015 miles or 17,766 kilometers. In terms of crew, a basic air refueling mission sees 3 members: a pilot, co-pilot, and boom operator. However, some KC-135 missions require the addition of a navigator, and the Air Force has a limited number of navigator suites that can be installed for unique missions. For an aeromedical evacuation, a basic crew of 5 is added: 2 flight nurses and 3 medical technicians. However, the medical crew may be altered as required by the needs of patients. After being cleared to enter service, the KC-135 proved its worth in numerous conflicts, from the Vietnam War to the Kosovo War to the 1991 Persian Gulf War to the global war on terror. At the height of the tanker's deployment in 1972, the US Air Force had 195 KC-135 aircraft, which was 30% of its air refueling capability. Some of the KC-135s were kept at bases in Japan, the Philippines, and Guam, but the vast majority at the time operated from Utapao Royal Thai Navy Airfield. The aircraft type has also proven itself capable in the hands of foreign air forces such as those of Chile, France, Singapore, and Turkey. All in, 803 Stratotanker airframes were built between 1955 and 1965. Yes, for a 10-year production run, the aircraft continues to experience an incredibly long service life. Over the years, hundreds of fighter planes have received the Stratotanker's refueling services. This goes to show that fighter jet pilots may get all the glory in news coverage and movies alike, but aerial refueling is an important component in supporting and boosting the capabilities of those combat aircraft. Alas, as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end, and that truism is being applied to the KC-135. The Royal Singapore Air Force retired their KC-135 fleet of 4 airframes in 2019, replacing them with a half-dozen Airbus A330 MRTTs. These jets feature in some recent news, which we'll talk about later in this video. France chose 15 specimens of that same Airbus platform to replace their 14 Stratotankers between 2018 and 2023. As for the original customer of the KC-135, the US Air Force, they actually retired the last KC-135E from tanker duty at Davis-Monthan, Arizona, way back on September 23, 2009. As Staff Sergeant Tim Beckham of the 355th Fighter Wing Public Affairs Office eloquently reported at the time, the aircraft, which served the Air Force for more than 50 years, will now spend its days basking in the sun in the boneyard and providing much-needed parts to the rest of the fleet. But for the operational Air Force, it's the end of an era as the service transitions to the new air-to-air refueling tanker. But the story isn't fully over for this aging aircraft. A US Air Force fact sheet on the KC-135 reports the following. Through the years, the KC-135 has been altered to do other jobs ranging from flying command post missions to reconnaissance. RC-135s are used for special reconnaissance, and Air Force Material Command's NKC-135As are flown in test programs. Air Combat Command operates the OC-135 as an observation platform in compliance with the Open Skies Treaty. It goes on to say that the KC-135RT continues to undergo life cycle upgrades to expand their capabilities and improve reliability. Among these are improved communications, navigation, autopilot and surveillance equipment to meet future civil air traffic control needs. Reportedly, these airframes could still be sustainable until 2030. At the same time, we know that the jets will inevitably be replaced by the Boeing KC-46 Pegasus. After properly evaluating all the proposals, the US Air Force announced in February 2011 that it had selected this Boeing twinjet to replace the KC-135 Stratotanker. Based on the 767 platform, the KC-46 Pegasus made its maiden flight on December 28, 2014, and successfully refueled an aircraft for the first time in January 2016. Perhaps showing its age and proving the need for retirement, the KC-135 has even made recent news. In late June 2024, a trailing flap of a Metria Aerospace KC-135 fell from an aircraft flying over Ewa Beach in Hawaii. The trailing edge flap weighs approximately 60 pounds and is about 15 feet long. Residents retrieved the Stratotanker component from the water, and later it was taken by Metria Aerospace. Interestingly, the KC-135Rs owned by Metria were acquired from the Republic of Singapore Air Force. According to an Aviation Week article, Metria Aerospace refueled its first 2 US Air Force aircraft in late June 2023. Meanwhile, the World Database of Modern Military Aircraft shows that the Chilean Air Force is hanging on to its fleet of 3 KC-135s, and that the Turkish Air Force is doing the same with its 7 Stratotankers. So then, whilst the venerable KC-135's complete retirement is just over the proverbial horizon, it looks like there are some years left for the old birds. What do you think of the KC-135? Have you seen one for yourself? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.